Today's guest is a Magicians basketball star who's on his way to Minot State with one of his running mates from Minot High. Joining me now is Jaxon Gunville, a standout athlete at Minot High. Now, when it comes to basketball, Jaxon, Minot had just finished its state three-peat in your freshman season. What did looking up to those guys show you about the work that you needed to put in, both to win high school championships and then to become a college player?
It was quite something, to be honest. Looking up, starting in like my middle school years is when I started first going to the Minot High games, and I kind of got into basketball more and stuff. And I just knew at that time that when I was coming up to Minot High, it was going to be fun, and that I understood that in watching how high of a level those guys actually played at and how fast they would play at, how much work that I needed to put in so I could actually play and be something that I wanted to be. Like, I wanted to be a good player, not just a player that just comes and goes. I wanted to kind of just put in a lot of work so that I could just go out there and play in front of the great fans that come play on the high. Freshman year, I played with the sophomores for most of the year, and then I played with the JV a little bit too. But just watching Justin and Kewan and Alex his sophomore year and Peyton and Chandler just play and win the third state championship, that was something amazing. And we looked forward to trying to four-peat going into my sophomore year, and things didn't really pan out as expected at WDA. We ran into a really tough man-down team, and it came down to the wire. But in looking back at freshman year, that was some of the most fun I've ever had, just on the bench, just admiring those guys who had put all that work in, and just it's so much fun to watch those guys play. But it just showed how you needed to put the work in if you wanted to get to that level someday.
Was it ever difficult for you making the kind of social sacrifices to make it to the gym instead of hanging out and putting shots up and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. There would be specific instances where my friends would be out hanging out or just going out and doing stuff like around the community and stuff. And I remember a specific instance. It was my freshman year. Guys were going out and hanging out and having fun on New Year's, and my dad asked me if I wanted to go up to the gym with my brothers, and I kind of said, I don't really feel like it right now, and like I'd rather go out and hang out with my friends on New Year's and stuff. But I knew in my mind if I wanted to get where I wanted to be, I needed to make some sacrifices every once in a while and get to the gym and do whatever was necessary to kind of separate myself from the other competition. And I'm glad my dad kind of drilled that into my mind from a young age, that if you want to accomplish something, you might have to sacrifice some of the other not that necessary things to accomplish what you want. And I'm just really thankful for that, because I don't think I would be the person I am today or the basketball player I am today without kind of his guidance to that and pushing through the things that you don't want to do and just getting it done because it just needs to be done if you want to accomplish stuff.
Obviously, you embraced that once it started to happen after a while or right away. How much of a difference did that make? I mean, considering maybe if your dad or your brothers or whatever were just like the cheerleaders versus, hey, the best thing is to get to the gym.
I think that would have made if my dad wasn't the way that he was necessarily and trying to push me and make me the best player I could be, I don't think I would have worked out my weaknesses as much, and I think I would kind of just be kind of a one-dimensional player in some ways, because I've always been able to kind of shoot the ball a little bit better than most people, and that kind of got me by my younger years. But I needed to become more solid in kind of all-around aspects of my game. So my dad kind of pointed those things out to me and just told me what he thought I should improve on in some areas. And like defense was a big focus, and just being stronger with the basketball and pushing through contact and just becoming an all-around smarter team player, I think is what he kind of drilled me in my mind. Because he would design up these workouts for me, like going into my freshman year. And as I got older, I kind of started to incorporate the stuff that I didn't think I liked as much about my game, because I figured if I worked on those enough to become good enough at those, then it would make me become an all-around just better basketball player. And I'm really thankful for that.
Did your buddies give you any grief about not showing up for New Year's?
No, not really. I kind of just told he was just going to be hanging out with a couple friends, and I just told him I wouldn't be able to make it because I wanted to get up to the gym and get some extra shots up, and they understood, and that's a good thing.
Who were you most close with through your high school career when it comes to the players that you were with? Who did you enjoy just going through the process of getting better with, playing games, and then just hanging out off the court?
I've had a lot of teammates throughout the high school years, and I'd say if I had to name a couple that really stuck out to me, so for the first year, I'd say that for my freshman year, it'd have to be Derry Lentz because we're in the same grade, and we both got moved up to sophomore team, and it was just us two that got moved up, so I'd say we kind of stuck together because we were both the younger guys on the team, and we didn't really know what to expect coming into the first year, so we kind of just partnered up in drills and stuff and did stuff together, I'd say. And sophomore year, I'd say it would be probably Easton and Derry because we both got moved up to the varsity and we were both the young guys on the team. And we kind of came in sophomore year. I know Easton and I definitely both came in a little bit nervous, and I wouldn't say scared, but just pretty nervous for the season. And it just kind of helped our relationship grow because we learned off of each other, and I think that was a really good thing. And then I'd say junior and senior year, it was just all of us 2020 grads. So like me, Tucker, John, Gary, Easton, I'd say I was definitely closest with this year because we've all been friends for a really long time. We've all had basketball rivalries since middle school, and we've all grown up playing the game, and we just had a lot of fun. Moving up in the Minot High system.
Another relationship here with head coach Dean Winczewski. It seems like there's times where he definitely wants you guys to be dialed in for the betterment of the team just from the outside of it. I'm just wondering, what was it like being coached by him? And does he find the times to joke around too and keep it loose?
Yeah, Coach Winczewski, I've known him since like third grade when my dad he let me go and join the fourth grade camp when I was a third grader, and that's when I first met him. And I've always known him as kind of a serious guy going into high school and stuff, and at first I was kind of intimidated by him because I've heard from a lot of people that he can be loud and he can coach really loud and he has a tendency to yell a lot, and I could see where from a fan's perspective they could see that all he does is kind of harp on his players and yell and scream at his players, but I think when I first started practicing with him, I understood more why that happens is because he's just kind of a loud guy, and he just coaches really loud, and the things that he's saying, he has very good intentions for all of us, and he just says it in kind of a tone that's loud and may come across as screaming, but he just kind of coaches loud and gets his point across. But yes, he does love to joke around and he's one of the most sarcastic guys I've ever met, and that's a good thing in practice, I think, because when practices start to get really serious and stuff, and no one's having a lot of fun, it seems like he'd just say something sarcastic or something, and then it kind of get us laughing and having fun again. And yeah, I think he has a good balance between the sarcasm that he brings, but also when we need to dial it in and be serious and really focus on what we needed to accomplish in a specific game or focusing on a game plan. He was really good at that because he obviously knows what he's talking about because he's won how many state titles. He had the three-peat, he had a couple in Dickinson, and he's one of the most successful coaches in North Dakota basketball history. And he obviously knows what he's talking about, and he brings a lot to what our team meant for the past 4 years.
We talked about when you were named finalist for Mr. Basketball was that Coach Winczewski kind of gave you a little of freedom to operate in your playing style. How much did that help, just having some kind of comfort in that regard, knowing that the coach had trust in you to do what you can do?
I think it helped a lot for my game and then for the benefit of the team too, because there was kind of the overall structure of our offense where we'd want to get the ball moving and we'd want to get just flow and movement and rhythm throughout the offense, like early in the game. And he was kind of he was kind of looser with me. He'd always tell me about the shot selection that maybe other guys couldn't take shots early in the shot clock or something. And then he said if I got the same shot, that it wouldn't be the worst shot ever, because he said, like, he's seen me make that shot plenty of times to know that it's probably going to go in more times than not. So I'm really thankful that I got to experience high school with a coach who really allowed me to just play my game, and he didn't want to change necessarily what my game was and how, other than the fact that he wanted me to get downhill more as my senior year went on, because he thought at some points I'd tend to be too reliant on the three-point shot, and which I agreed with him, because at points I think I should have attacked more and tried to get to the free throw line more, because free throws are probably the easiest shot in the game, and those are really easy points to get. But getting back to your point on the freedom, it's just kind of nice to know that you can be yourself without having to try to worry about if a certain shot was a bad shot or not, or if you should be attacking at certain points, because you know that he kind of gave you a little bit of a looser rein on when you can choose to be aggressive and when to be more passive to your team and try to get a bit of a rhythm going.
Him analyzing, like, okay, Jaxon, that might be a decent shot for you, even though it might be a tough one, kind of reminds me. I think I was watching Klay Thompson having like a record-breaking performance a couple years back in the presser. He was saying, like, yeah, my teammates really helped me, but boy, down the stretch there, I was taking some bad shots and they were just going in. Another part of your basketball life growing up, AAU. What did you get out of playing AAU in addition to the Magicians program?
AAU was an amazing experience for me, growing up and going all the way. I played all the way going into my senior year, and I started in like 6th or 7th grade, and I remember just going to the first tournament in Minneapolis. I was kind of scared out of my mind, because the guys when we went there just looked really athletic and really a lot taller than our whole entire team did, and at that point I didn't really know what to expect. But as we all got older and we grew into our bodies a little bit more, and we all grew, and the competition, or the height difference kind of leveled out and stuff. It was really just a kind of a checkpoint to see where you were at in your basketball career. And I remember a specific AAU team. We had Bowden Skunberg on our team, Elijah Klein, James Mitchell, and we had all those Mr. Basketball finalists, and we had a bunch of Jackson Lease. We had a bunch of just really good basketball players on our team, and I remember it was just always fun to go out and play with new players that you haven't really played with before, because they come from other cities or in the state. And you got to go see different competition that you would never see in just a high school setting, because there was teams from Minneapolis, Iowa, Montana, Nebraska, just surrounding it, South Dakota especially, just surrounding areas that have really good basketball talent. And it's just something different that you usually see in a high school setting. And I'm really thankful that my parents gave me the opportunity to pursue my basketball dream and get out and play in front of college coaches, and just let me have the overall AAU experience, because it was really fun playing when I was growing up.
The next chance that you have to play with a ton of new players is going to be at Minot State. Why did you pick to play there?
Minot State has always been an intriguing option for me, just because it's so close to home, and I wouldn't have to move away from my close family and my parents and my brothers and stuff, and I'd still get to see them grow up and see their high school basketball games for Jagger, especially, and as Jalen, one of my younger brothers who's in the middle school. But I picked it because Coach Merkin has been there for quite a while now, and I've been to a lot of Minot State games in the recent past, and I just like the way that he's set his team up, and the guys that come through there they're tough-minded, and they all have the same one goal, and that's just to get better in any way they can to help their team win. And I just like the culture that Coach Merkin and all the assistant coaches that have come through there have set up. And Easton and I kind of talked, and we both kind of had the same idea. And we just thought that continuing at Minot State would be a great option for our future because it offers a great education that we are looking to go into. And Coach Merkin, like I said previously, has done an amazing job of just making a great basketball program, and I'm really excited to just see what the future holds.
And you can keep having those Gunville gym sessions, I guess, when you guys are done working out with the Beavers then, with your brothers and your dad?
Yeah, and that's really important for me as Jagger, who's just finishing up his freshman year right now, as he gets older and starts playing varsity, hopefully next year. But making his games whenever I can. I know we play Fridays and Saturdays, and I'm planning to redshirt my first year, so I probably won't be actually playing games this year. But just making as many of Jagger's games next year as possible is really important for me because we've always been close growing up, and I just want to see how what he can do in the new high school setting, because I know this year he played freshman and he was really good, and it's just going to be really exciting for me to see my brother go through the same thing that hopefully I went through, and just have him playing the game he wants to play, and then my other two younger brothers, Jalen and Jace, just get to continue seeing them play, and yeah, that's really important for me.
I know it's not over for them really at this point, and they're not up to where you are. But as time goes on, do you expect to have more pride watching your brothers, or getting a lot out of just being a college player yourself? I mean, where do you kind of stand on that?
I think I can find a good balance because I'm obviously really excited for my future at Minot State, and I'm really excited to. I'm not really sure what education major I'm going to go into yet, but I'm really excited to just move forward with my education and just kind of move on to something different and move on to unexplored territory kind of for me, because it'll be a new setting. I'll be meeting a bunch of new guys coming on the team next year, and it'll just be something really different that I haven't experienced before, and I think that'll be good for me. But then on like Tuesdays and Fridays when Minot High plays at home, it's just going to be familiar going back to what's my favorite gym in the world at Minot High, and just going to get to watch my brother play, which to me that couldn't get any better.
Talking a little bit about how you and Easton were sort of communicating, deciding what you wanted to do, and ultimately ending up both at Minot State. Was that a fast process for you? Were you both thinking like that was the clear number one option that you both wanted to have, or did you do some exploring on your own at least and then come back to that conclusion?
Well, I'd say we both had our individual thoughts on it, but together we both visited University of Jamestown and University of Mary and went to their junior days and their elite camps and stuff, and we gave it some consideration. I know, like Mary, we gave some consideration, but at the end of the day, when we toured the facilities at Minot State, and we just toured like the dorms and the education centers at Minot State, I know for me, it just clicked that this is where I want to be, because it was a cheaper alternative than both Mary and Jamestown, and the coaching staff. I just knew from day one that the coaching staff would always be there for any questions that I'd have and for my development. And I think Easton, I'm not going to speak on his behalf because I don't know exactly what his thought process was, but I think he had the same thought process, because when we both visited, we both said, like, I think this is where we want to go, and I kind of just went from there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what's going to be involved in the Minot State tour to begin with? Like, you guys have been here all your lives. You know your way around the dome or whatever, but, yeah. You mentioned redshirting early on, but looking towards the future, even further out, what kind of opportunity did Coach Merkin really say that you and Easton were going to have?
So, for me, what he said, I'm not really sure what he has planned for Easton, but I think Easton's going to redshirt as well. But for me, he just said he'd like to take my freshman year for a chance to redshirt and get my body kind of up to the college game level speed. So, like, that just means getting in the weight room as much as you can, getting way stronger, getting faster, getting quicker, and just developing the basketball skills that the coaches think that are lacking in my game, so that when it comes to my second year, which will be my regular freshman season, then and I'll be a much better and complete basketball player. And then I'll still have 4 years of eligibility to play. And I think that just makes the most sense for me because rather than kind of a wasted first year of where I might get minutes here and there, and it's just playing time might be spotty and all that other stuff. You can just really take time to devote your first year to getting better and focusing kind of on you and just how you can improve as a basketball player, and then come back that next year and then just apply what you've learned and what you've gained and put that towards how you can make the team better. And I think that's really important because then I'll have another 4 years and I'll have another year to work on my education and maybe dual major or something as well.
Minot fans are definitely really proud of you for your career that you've had at Minot High, Jaxon. Just curious, between your senior year with MHS and then going through the redshirt year and then getting back on the court when you can with Minot State, how much of a different player might we see from senior year to that point? Because you said, well, you could have had more opportunities to maybe drive when you get the chance. Maybe is that a part of your game that you want to grow here? You get that opportunity, or what else do you want to enhance?
So for me, what I want to mainly focus on in my game is my strength, just kind of upper and lower body, just because I feel like at some points against some of the tougher competition, I was a little bit weak with the basketball, and I kind of got just bodied down in the paint a few times, and I just don't want that to happen. And definitely I want to be stronger with the basketball and stronger with my handle so that I can dribble the ball and be way more confident than I have been with just dribbling, and because I might have to play a one, like a point guard spot, where I have the ball in my hands a lot, and I just want to be confident with the ball so that my coach can trust me in situations where I need to bring the ball up the floor, and I don't just have to be a guy who just necessarily stands in the corner and shoots threes and stuff. I want to be more of an all-around player who can do all things, like so like I mentioned, getting stronger and stuff. That could be for rebounding, defending, holding my own ground on defense, and it doesn't all just apply to offense. I think just getting stronger and faster and quicker and being able to jump higher helps with every single part of my game, such as just rebounding, pushing the ball up the floor faster, defending stronger, defending maybe post plays if I have to get switched onto them, and not having to give up a bunch of ground, and on offense just ripping the ball and going at the basket and just being strong and confident with the ball and going up and finishing, and I think that is what I can improve on most in the game.
All right, staying in college basketball, you are a University of North Carolina fan when it comes to D1. Man, what on earth happened this year? You guys finished at 14-19.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys graduate last year, and we had a really young group of guys come in, and I know Cole Anthony got hurt early on in the year, and that kind of just derailed things for us, I think. But to be honest, I didn't really pay much attention this year because I wouldn't say I'm a diehard UNC fan. It's just if I had to choose a D1 team that I would choose to root for, it'd be UNC, just because growing up I always watched Michael Jordan highlights, and that kind of, and I really liked the baby blue color of the uniform, so it kind of stuck to me. And then when I started watching the MJ highlights and stuff, I just started naturally rooting for them. And then when I saw like the 2009 championship team, and I saw Ty Lawson and like Tyler Hansbrough come up through the system, that really solidified them as kind of my go-to team.
Now you got to remember that I'm from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I'm 50 minutes away from Philadelphia. So one of my crowning moments following one of my teams was beating one of your teams. You can say again that, now I'm not a diehard anymore, but how much of a gut punch was it losing to Nova at the buzzer, but then pretty redeeming story coming back and winning it the next year, huh?
Yeah, I remember watching that Villanova game. I was upstairs, and when I saw Marcus Page go up to that three on the right wing where he kind of double clutched it, I was just thinking to myself, like, what are you doing, man? But like, when it went in, it was a huge sigh of relief. But then I looked and I saw like 5 or 6 seconds left, and I think it was Ryan Archidiakono for Nova bringing the ball up the floor, and then he kind of dribbled up to the right wing and then did like a kind of a handoff thing to Chris Jenkins, and I remember he shot that three, and when it went down, it just kind of sunk my heart because I was I was cheering for UNC that whole tournament, and they had some upset games that I was really, really kind of hyped about. And then just watching that just was really sad. But then the next year, rebounding against Gonzaga, that was definitely a relief because I think that whole team came back just more motivated than ever to not let that happen again, and they got the job done the next year.
When Marcus Page hit that double clutch, I thought that was one of the shots where, okay, if that's going to go in, then North Carolina's definitely going to win. That's like a meant-to-be shot.
Yeah, I did not know what to think when he shot that ball, but I'm just glad it went in. At the time, I was glad.
Yeah, I was at school at Maryland when they were still in the ACC, so I saw North Carolina a couple times in the third row. They were going to beat us, and of course we didn't get the foul calls that UNC would always get, and that's what we'll say every time. But John Henson, rather than dribbling the ball out, he went up and had a slam dunk to end the game just to put it in everyone's face. And then we bumped into him again when he was a Buck at a Wizards game when we were like reporting on the game as interns. We were like, "What's up with that?" And he just laughed at us. So it definitely holds true. And big MJ guy, a lot of people are obviously. What do you think of The Last Dance so far?
I think it's an amazing series so far. I think it's just a really good story on Michael Jordan and just the whole Bulls team. I really find it intriguing about like the Dennis Rodman story. It was just really interesting to see how he was really different from the social norms of just the whole entire NBA and just the world at that time, and how he still managed to just find his inner self and just still be the best him that he could be. And he knew his role, which is a really important thing, because sometimes people, they try to go out of their ways to do things that's not them. And he knew he was a good rebounder and defender, so there'd be games where he'd go and have 0 points and 20 boards and nothing else. And I think that's why those glue players like that are reasons that teams are really successful, is when you just have different guys that bring different aspects of the take. Like Steve Kerr was just a really good shooter that would always knock down clutch shots, and Michael was just the all-around player that could pretty much do everything, and Scotty was kind of underlooked, but the things that he did on the court, he was definitely overlooked by a lot of people. But I just think the aspect of everyone doing the things that they did best really led to that team having a lot of success. And then Phil Jackson, who I think is probably the greatest coach in NBA history, because I don't think he's ever had a losing season. But just the different players that he's been able to coach and be successful with is just really amazing to me.
That was on one of the commercial break trivias. It mentioned that Phil had 20 seasons, never had a losing one. The second best was 10 seasons. Does anybody get maybe more appreciation from you just based on what you've seen out of the documentary, not from like the facts that you knew going in?
I would say Dennis Rodman, because everyone kind of looked at him just because he's different, and he kind of didn't get along with his previous teammates and stuff, and he's kind of a bad guy, and he does kind of what he wants and when he wants it. But if you really look at the documentary, what he did, and he always had his mind set during the actual basketball game, which was most important, that he was going to do his job and do it to the best of his capabilities. And I think that kind of gets overlooked by a bunch of people when they're just generally talking about Dennis Rodman. And I would just say some of the other Bulls role players, the Bulls role players that don't necessarily get a bunch of credit, because Michael and Scotty get most of the credit. So like Steve Kerr and John Paxson and them, who have hit multiple clutch shots in their championship runs, that they kind of just surprised me, just how really like much they meant to the team and stuff.
I've been doing some overlooking too, because I've looked up a bunch of these guys just from seeing them on TV for the first time in a long time, and Phil Jackson included in that. And then I look up on his wiki that he played at Williston, and I had no idea, and all my buddies just roasted me because they said that like I've been here long enough, I should have known he's such a legend. I know John Cole Gymnasium's out there, but I didn't know Phil. Sorry, everybody. You follow the Lakers in the pros. Now, for jumping onto that, obviously a lot of their fan base, if they're not from LA, you wonder about how they land on them. Was it more Kobe Shaq, Kobe Powell, or are you just jumping over with LeBron right now?
I grew up, my dad was a huge Lakers fan, and that was kind of growing up when it was just Kobe after Shaq had been traded. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was the Kobe Shaq era or the Kobe Powell era, because when I started following basketball in general, the Lakers were the first team I ever started watching, and it was really just Kobe in like 2006, 7, and 8 before Powell had even been traded there. So I would say it would be definitely Kobe.
Did your dad ever say, like, Jackson, watch what the Lakers are doing right now and do this in your game and try to?
Not necessarily. It's just kind of, I'd always come downstairs and he'd always be watching a Lakers game. And a profound memory I remember back, we used to live on a house up on North Hill, and when Derek Fisher hit a huge shot in the playoffs against the Spurs, I remember that moment because it was just kind of like the first memory that I'd had with basketball. And Derek Fisher hit a shot with like 0.4 seconds left on the left wing, and I just kind of remember that as being my first memory with the Lakers, and it kind of just stuck with me and made my team ever since then. Honestly, I've gone through a lot of hard years leading up to this year with the Lakers, and ever since Kobe got injured, and then he kind of missed a lot of time, and then when we had those rough years, it was really rough to be a Lakers fan, but we finally had some hope this year, the whole coronavirus thing, but then the season got like suspended, so kind of tough. But
yeah, I guess you say when you just encapsulated in your lifetime, they had some good years and they had some lean years, so you can't really harken back to all the other championships they've won in the classic era. So started to touch on it was LeBron and AD. It was like the worst kept secret, basically, that AD was going to try to find his way to LA some way, even though the Pelicans owner said, like, he's going to go there over my dead body. Eventually he gets there anyway. Did you expect them to gel together so well? It's kind of, I saw them being an upper echelon team in the West. I wasn't sure about like a clear number one or on par with the Clippers. It kind of reminds me of when the Celtics came together and were awesome right away in their championship season.
I didn't think they'd be as good as they were this year, but I thought that LeBron and AD would find a way to make things work, because LeBron, when he was with the Heat, when he paired up with Bosh and Wade and Ray Allen in Miami, he made things work, and he won championships there too, so I knew he'd make things work with AD. But just to watch AD is really fun for me, because just all the things he could do as a 6'11" big, it really fascinates me. And then just LeBron, just his overwhelming power and just amazing talent at the game of basketball. It's really fun to watch, and this season it was really fun to watch and follow the Lakers.
When the season unfortunately stopped, I was concerned about the 76ers just falling all the way down in the East. I know Ben Simmons was banged up, and he would have came back whenever the season finally gets underway here. So I have my doubts, even though they're in the East playoff field for sure. But the Lakers are obviously one of the best teams in the league right away with LeBron and AD this year. So how difficult is it now to wait for the first playoff run with these guys?
It'll be an interesting thing, I think, because I think for me, what I think is just how well the players stay in condition and stuff. Because if the players are kind of just been sitting around this whole break and just not really doing much and they're out of shape and stuff, when the season finally does resume, it'll be hard for them to find their stride, and it might take them a week or two to get into stride. But if you have a team who's been working throughout the whole entire thing at home and finding ways to get work in, then it might take them 1 or 2 days to get going, and they might get hot right away and just run away with the whole thing. So I think it could be interesting. And I know I follow some of the Lakers guys on Instagram, and I've seen them putting in work and stuff, and I've seen LeBron getting workouts in daily and just really striving to kind of finish the job that he started this season. And I'm just really excited to see whenever the season resumes, just to see how they can respond to this unprecedented thing and just see if they can get the job done.
Sounds like you're definitely interested in like taking those deep dives into the history of basketball. So who do you think is the best Laker ever?
Oh, definitely Kobe Bryant.
Hands down, easily?
Yeah.
Who's second, and is it even, and how close is it?
Second? many options to choose from. There's Magic, Kareem, James Worthy, Jerry West, LeBron, obviously. I wouldn't put LeBron in that category yet because he's only played there for like a year and a half now. And I think he's the second or third greatest basketball player of all time, probably the second. I think MJ is the best of all time. But if you talk about greatest Lakers of all time, I'd probably have to go with Magic Johnson because of all the titles that he won back in the 80s and just the things that he did. And I think he's the greatest point guard of all time, so I'd have to put him at second.
I think Kobe maybe edges him out slightly just with, like, the L.A. fans identifying with it, you know?
Yeah.
Lakers' embarrassment of riches for sure. Well, hey, we wish you the best of luck in your college career and whenever the Lakers can get back on the court. Thanks.
Yep, thanks. I appreciate it.